Alright, this is the content development for Module 5, Lesson 17. And we are going to go ahead and get started with subtracting from 1. So, alright. So we have 1 whole minus 3/8. Are our units the same? No. What can we do to have the same unit? Well, we need to break this 1 up into 8/8, right? So if we look at this as a number line here, we put our 0 here, and then this would be 1. Oops. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there is our number line. And just as a reminder, this whole thing is equal to 1, so we need to put the fractional parts in. Okay. So, we have 1 whole. Okay, well, here is 1 whole, right? So if we were plotting this on our number line, this would be 1 whole. Now it says minus 3/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back 3 times. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So our new number, our answer, should be 5/8, right? So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this down here. So 1 minus 3/8 should equal 5/8. And you know this because if you think about this as if you think about this 1 whole as 8/8, 8 minus 3 gives us 5. So it makes sense. Our denominator stays the same. We just are changing the numerator. So once you get the denominator to be the same units, you can now subtract the numerator. Alright, and that's it for that problem. Alright, so we have 1 minus 2/5. Can we solve this problem using addition? Hint, yes we can. So let's go ahead and do it, and we're going to write a number sentence using x. So first thing we're going to do, I also wanted to show you this as a number bond. So if you had this as 1 whole, and we're breaking this into 2/5, we need to know, what do you have to add to 2/5 to get to 1 whole? Well, we know 1 whole is really just equal to 5/5 in this case, right? So if we start at 0/5, we go to 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. Now we can now solve on the number line using addition. But it says to write a number sentence using x. So we're going to write an addition sentence using x. So we have 2/5 plus x, which is our variable, equals 1 whole. So if we're at 2/5, what can we do to get to 1 whole? Well, as you know, the reason why we do these addition problems to solve subtraction is because they are the inverses of each other. Just like sometimes how we do multiplication to do division, and we sometimes will use division to sort of help us think about multiplication because they're inverses. We do the same thing with addition and subtraction. So here we are starting at 2/5, and we're going to see how many jumps do we have to make to get to 1 whole. So let's count. 1 jump, 2 jumps, 3 jumps. So we have to jump 3 times, or 3/5, to get to 1 whole. So our answer should be 3/5. So x should equal 3/5. Let's plug it in and let's see. So we have 2/5 plus 3/5, and that should give us 5/5, which we know is also 1 whole. And there you go. So that's how you can use addition to sort of undo subtraction. So if you're more comfortable with addition, this is a very good strategy to use, is to sort of count up. I do this all the time in my head when I'm coming up with quick answers on the fly. Okay, so now we're going to be subtracting between 1 and 2. So we're going to draw two. Okay. We're going to be drawing two tape diagrams showing two different subtraction methods. Okay. So we have 1 1/5 minus 2/5. So the first thing we can do is we can draw out a tape diagram here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and that's a little too big, but oh well. So these 5 will equal our 1 whole, and then we have this extra little 1/5, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1/5, right? So this is now represented. Now it says to subtract 2/5. Well, if I'm thinking about it, I can really just take 2 of these away, right? So I'm going to just cross them out. So that one goes and that one goes. So how many are left? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4/5. So 4/5. Now, that's sort of our basic method of subtraction, right? You would combine all of these together, the 1 and 1/5, and you'd find that equals 6/5, right? So when we rewrote this, it would just be 6. Actually, I'm going to do it down here. 6/5 minus 2/5, which we know 6 minus 2 gives us 4/5, right? So that's basically what we did right here. Now, what I'm talking about for our second one is we are going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do the addition method that we were just talking about. So like adding up. So if we start, here we go. Let's see. I'm going to draw my box here. And I have 1 whole, right? I have 1 whole. And we know that this is equal to 5/5, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if I know that I have 1 whole, which is right here, right? And I sort of think about that, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got 1 whole represented. I still don't have this, so this is good. This, not so much. Let me take away 2/5. So I'm going to take away 2/5, okay? So I'm scratching them out. Well, I still kind of have to add back in this extra 1/5, right? So I took away the 2/5. Now I got to add this back in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my extra 1/5. And how many fifths do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4/5, right? So what I basically just did is I had this, I had 1 1/5. I broke this down, and kind of like how I do in my number bond. Broke this down into 1 plus 1/5, and then minus 2/5, right? So when I broke this down further, and I broke this down to this 1 into 5/5, what I basically just did is I did 5/5 minus 2/5, and then I added back in my 1/5. So 5 minus 2 left me with 3, right? So this was 3/5. So this became 3/5. Then I added back in my extra 1/5, and that gave me 4/5, which was my answer. So you see how that worked? It's 2 different strategies, and you can use whichever one you like first or best. So sometimes it depends on the problem. Sometimes I do the basic subtraction, like the first method right here, like this one. So a lot of times I do this one. But there's some times where you can kind of do it in steps. Like, okay, I know what 1 is. 1 is equal to 5/5. Well, if I take the 2/5 away from that, that becomes 3/5. And then I have that 1/5 I have to add back in, which makes it 4/5. So there's 2 different methods, and you can do whichever one works for you at whatever point. So there's definitely instances where you might do both or do one or the other in different times. So let's take a look at the next problem. So we're going to be doing, sorry. We're going to be doing the exact same thing with this one. So I'm going to show the 2 tape diagram methods one more time so you can take a look. So I'll do the first one in red and I'll do the second one in like blue or something. Okay, so the first way is I've got 1 3/8. So that means I've got 1 whole. So this is 1, 2, 3. Oops, calm down. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I need to add on 3 more. 3 more. So that's 1, 2, 3. All right. So this is my whole 1 or 8/8. Then I've got this little extra on here, which is my 3/8. Now it says to take away 5/8. So I'm just going to start scratching out. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how many do I have left? Well, let's count over here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/8. So what we basically just did is that we did our little number bond. We said 1 3/8 is equal to 8/8 plus 3/8, which we know should give us 11/8. So we said 11/8 minus 5/8, and that gave us 6/8. All right, so that's method number 1. And method number 2 is just as easy. And so what it does is that you take a whole. So here's my whole. And I'm going to cut this up into 8 parts because I know this whole is equal to 8/8. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I know this is my whole, or 8/8. So I'm going to get rid of, I've already dealt with my 1, which I'm going to rewrite this so I can do it over here. Okay, so I've already gotten rid of my 1, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I need to take away 5/8. So I'm going to scratch out 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. All right, so I have 3 left over right here. 3/8. Well, I need to add back in, now I've dealt with this, I need to add back in my 3/8. So I'm going to draw my 3/8 back over here. So this is 1, 2, 3. So this is 3/8. And 3 plus 3 gives us 6/8. So we can see here that we still end up with 6/8. And so another way to look at this with the number bond is basically saying, well, not with the number. Another way to look at the problem is that we had 1 3/8. So we had 8/8, and then we had 3/8. We're going to subtract 5/8. We just switched up the order, and so what we did was 8/8 minus 5/8. Then we added in 3/8. So 8 minus 5 gives us 3/8. Sorry, I should write this a little smaller. So gave us 3/8 plus our other 3/8, which gave us 6/8. So either way you do it, same answer. Again, if you have any questions or any you want us to explain a little differently or something like that, feel free to contact us on Zoom, Google Meet, Google Classroom, Class Dojo, any of the different ways you want to talk to us, and we will be happy to help you out and get you set up so that you'll be good to go. All right. Well, let me know if you have any other questions. All right. See you for lesson 19.